I wanted to ask a question about fact
what?
checkers.
About what?
About fact checkers. They've been taken off Meta or Facebook. Why is that, do you think?
Someone want to help me put these up?
English, please, Sam.
Okay, the fact checkers are going to be removed from Facebook apparently, and why you lose a job? You want to be unemployed again, is it? Oh, hang on a minute with that. Wait a minute with that.
Why not?
Because it's you.
Well, you agree with it.
I don't have to agree with everything you put up.
All right, I'll put them here.
You put it up ready just for when you spring into action.
Can we fact check this stuff?
I wouldn't know. No.
Yeah, fact check.
No.
This, please.
No. What's that?
Well, you have to fact
Yes,
check
farmers,
the fact
yes,
checkers.
please.
That's the
Fact
thing.
check
When
the
you actually
slogan.
look at
How do you get a job as a fact checker?
like journalists.
Actually, there is. I mean, I was surprised. None of Piers and his gang of merry men and ladies stood outside the fact checkers' offices, because they got an office in London next to Oval cricket ground, where they had their fact checkers' headquarters. They must be made unemployed now, so we should go and protect their rights, defend their rights, defend their rights.
Yeah.
3-day working week. Yeah. Well, they're still working on
Should
YouTube.
work for
you
us
see.
doing fact checking.
Now, I
against
did
the
see
enemy.
something quite. I did see something quite interesting, because you'd wonder whether YouTube might drop this fact checking as well now. But I did see something quite interesting on ChatGTP, and they basically said, I said to them, what can I do about YouTube having deleted my channel and all the videos I recorded on there for 15 years? What can I do to get those videos back?
That's a lot.
And it was about 200 videos. And then it said quite a nice idea. It said under British law, YouTube hold data of mine, and I could make a request that they provide me with all the data they hold on me, which must include the videos that I uploaded to them. So they should give me the videos that I uploaded to them. I haven't done it yet. I'm waiting for them to change their fact-checking rules as well, which I'm sure they will, because they also want a piece of the Trump action. The Trump action, as they call it.
Elon Musk
And the
action.
Trump action. Well, the Elon Musk stroke Trump action, which is basically Donald Trump stroke Elon Musk action. Or the multi-billionaires, the cabal of billionaires that have taken control of America and think they can use their financial control of America to make America like China. I think that's what they think, is that they can push their own agenda through control of technology to make America and most of the world conform to American or Trumpist policies. And we've seen this with Elon Musk in the last week and a bit, who not only has imperial ambitions for global influence on of his technology company, but also for whatever random thought enters his head at any minute. Apparently he was posting about 30 posts a day on Britain a couple of weeks ago. He seems to know nothing about Britain, and he seems to have this idea that the most important political figure in Britain...
Nigel Farage?
No, not Nigel Farage.
We don't support.
This is old history. A couple of weeks ago, last week it was actually, that Elon Musk said that artificial intelligence has already collected all the information about mankind, and therefore no new information will be forthcoming that isn't mediated through artificial intelligence in future. Elon Musk said that moment, that what he called singularity, occurred something like a year ago, and that all the information in the world is now in the hands of artificial intelligence. And so from about a year, from now, all future information will be artificial intelligence mediated information. So if you ask yourself, who was the greatest artist, thinker, inventor, political theorist, political intellect in the last million years, and represented in the last couple of years, which Elon Musk has hooked onto as a supreme representative of humanity, of its ideals and its mentality, Elon Musk has chosen Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson is the king intellect of mankind because he spoke about grooming gangs long before Keir Starmer and long before, who's that woman in charge of the Conservative Party now?
Oh yeah.
Conservative Party Help? Conservative Party Helpline? What's her name? Badenoch, you see, Badenoch. And Badenoch has now jumped on the bandwagon of Elon Musk. Meanwhile, Elon Musk has moved the goalposts. He's already on Germany. It's not Britain anymore. He's now shaping the politics of Germany. Meanwhile, even though America is now about to commit more resources, it seems, about to commit more resources to the war in Ukraine, despite what Donald Trump originally claimed, that the war would be over within a day, it seems he's more keen on 6 months to a year. That if they send a few more weapons to Ukraine, then America can get more influence in Ukraine than Germany or France or England, who of course would gain more traction with Zelensky than Donald Trump would if Donald Trump was to make a deal immediately. And therefore, just in case, Donald Trump's decided the war in Ukraine must continue a bit longer. That's what it seems to me. But not only that, but Donald Trump has now declared that Greenland, that great centre for global warming, as we're told, the rising of the seas comes from Greenland, and Donald Trump has declared that it's an essential asset for the United States of America. And it's a huge place, Greenland, by the way, enormous piece of territory with huge reserves of certain resources. And so America is now seizing minerals here, rare earth minerals and stuff like that.
Rare earths, yeah. And in
Sorry,
ocean.
is it the way that
What was that?
Is it the way that America has, or America has intentions on Greenland? Is that worse than the way Russia has intentions on Ukraine?
Well, that's the question I'm asking. So if Russia wants to take Ukraine, and that's a bad thing, and that's assuming Russia wants to take Ukraine rather than just stop NATO from taking Ukraine, but let's assume
Well, it would be
the
up to
theoretical
Ukraine.
argument.
It would be up to Ukraine if it joined NATO, wouldn't it?
Would it be up to Ukraine?
Well, Sweden and Finland joined NATO quite probably.
Yeah, but Ukraine is not Sweden or Finland.
No, it's not.
So
But you say
if Ukraine joins NATO, the Russians basically say, well, that's an existential threat to Russia, and we won't allow it. Just the same as the Americans said, you know, that Cuba can't have nuclear weapons on the border of the United States. It's the same argument. So, and at that time, America was prepared to go to nuclear war over it. So surely the Americans should understand that if they say that Ukraine can join NATO, and that's only a couple of 1,000 miles or so from Moscow, then clearly the Russians are going to be piqued about that.
Well, what gives the Russians the right to say to the Ukrainians, no, you can't join NATO?
You want to film this?
Well, it's the same right as saying your tax money shouldn't be spent on making a weapon to kill Russians in Ukraine. Because that's what's happening. Your money and my money is being used by NATO to bomb Russia.
Yeah, but that only comes through a democratically elected parliament
Well, when did we vote?
back in July.
What, for a war in Ukraine?
Well, we didn't vote for the war in Ukraine.
So what's the parliament going to do with it then?
Well, the parliament's decided it's going to, that's where the money goes to Ukraine.
So you agree with that, is it?
Well, whether I agree with it or not is irrelevant.
In other words, it doesn't matter what you think.
No, what I'm saying is that if you've got an elected parliament that decides that, then what the individuals...
So if you've got an elected parliament, the state can do whatever it likes and ignore everything you want. So for example, they can lock you up, jab you, bomb you, kill you, and all that's fine because it's an elected parliament.
So as long as that parliament can be unelected if you like.
Well, how can you unelect a parliament that's decided by two political parties that have been around for more than a century? In fact, the Tory party is the oldest political party in the world. It's been around for centuries. Long before you had the right to vote, the Conservative Party was around.
Yes.
And the Labour Party, controlled by big business and by a couple of trade union barons, they are the main political party governing politics today in Britain,
who's gonna
and you've got
decide
no say over what happens
No,
in them.
Okay, so who's going to determine?
Who's got more say over the
Who's
Labour
going to-
Party?
who's-
Over the Labour Party.
So who's going
The
to
members of the
determine
party. Hang on, one
whether we
second.
help
Well, just
Ukraine or
just
not?
one
Who's
second.
gonna decide
Just
that?
1 second.
No, I know you don't want to answer that.
I'm happy to answer it, but I'm only happy to answer it in relation to understanding how power is exercised in the world. Because otherwise, if you just talk about Russia did that, then I can turn around and say America's done that with Greenland.
I've got no truck.
Or the
with,
Mexican said,
I've
the
got no
Mexican,
truck-
the
I've
Mexican
got no
Prime
truck
Minister,
with-
the Mexican Prime.
So Donald Trump wanted to take over Greenland.
You got no what?
I've got no truck with the idea of Donald Trump taking over Greenland.
Oh, but then I was pointing out that as a comparative relationship with Russia.
Point of information.
The British have gone into one country after another.
Yes, I know that.
British forces,
I'm not saying
British
they were
forces,
virtuous to do
and
that.
British weapons are in Ukraine now.
Point of information.
Well, I
Heiko.
think the Ukrainian. Well, I think the Ukrainian people.
The idea that we live in a democracy.
How do you know?
Well, let's put it this way: when you look at the size of the Russian army, if the Ukrainians wanted Russia to take over, they would have done so long ago. The Russians would have walked in there and taken over the place in 2 weeks.
Well, I can put another perspective on that as well. Had NATO countries not given weaponry to Ukraine, not given political and economic support to Ukraine, Ukraine would have fallen ages ago.
Yes, and I would have
Right,
done.
there we go.
No,
Your
no,
question,
no,
Marwan.
but it's
Yeah,
just
point of
Ukrainian
information.
people
It's not
wanted
really a.
it.
It's not really a
No,
question.
no,
It's a
no,
talking
no.
point. You talk about the Labour Party having been elected and how we'll have to wait until 2029 at the latest to
I didn't
remove
say
them.
that.
No, but it might have been implicit in what you were saying.
You might if you assume that. Anyway.
But what sort of democracy gives a 2/3 majority in Parliament to a party that only got 20% of the vote nationally?
Absolutely, yeah, because it's rigged.
British democracy.
Totally, it's not democracy.
What sort of democracy?
Everybody knew that was the ground
But
was the British democracy.
what sort of democracy
Where do we vote on
affords
those?
people 7-year terms in some county councils, where they're delaying the elections, where they're only meant to serve full 4 years?
A farcical democracy is the answer. A farcical democracy means that in actual fact, those people who are puppeteered around in Parliament as the representatives of the people are basically representatives of sectional interests controlling the society. And they control the society under one government and under another government. There's slight changes in the emphasis of the rulers in those countries. Therefore, the question I was asked at the beginning about fact-checking is an illustration of that. This week, Mark Zuckerberg... Shut up!
He's going to have his say.
It's making more sense than you.
Who's heckling me?
End of democracy.
So how would you change the election?
Shut up!
Yes, that's all you could say.
No, it's not all I can
That
say.
just
It's not all I
really
can say.
shows
It's not all I can say.
That's all you can
It's all I can
When you
say.
to
But
me,
I'm just
shut
saying it
up.
to you because I'm trying to respond to the original question. Then I'm heckled by geese, and then you join in.
No, you don't know
The
what I'm
answer.
asking.
So what was that?
You don't know what I was asking.
I can't hear you. Easy, mate. What did you
Yeah,
say?
you see.
Go on. One more time. One more time. One more time. What about them?
He took your head off.
Huh?
And then he took your head off, she said.
I know. I saw the flying geese there.
Why is it bad?
Anyway, as I was saying, so under Mark Zuckerberg, I think he appeared on Joe Rogan's show this week, and he said,
Mark Zuckerberg's on Joe Rogan.
Mark Zuckerberg, as I said, when the mood changes on the deck of the ship, some of the people change their position. So Mark Zuckerberg suddenly has become like Elon Musk. In fact, he was more Elon Musky than Elon Musk himself. Because
Everyone
Mark
was a
Zuckerberg has
revolutionary
just...
after the revolution,
One sec. Next, the second question here. Mark Zuckerberg now turned around and said that under the regulations imposed upon him and the social media companies, he was forced against his will in chains and balls to turn around and say the vaccines, COVID vaccines this is, do not cause any harms. He was forced to say, and he didn't want to say it. That's what he's just said. He was opposed to it, but he was compelled to do it.
Vaccine skepticism. He posted himself his vaccine.
I was mentioning earlier, I heard that inside the entourage of Mark Zuckerberg's direct inner circle, he recommended them, I heard, not to take the vaccines. But don't quote me on that, but quote me.
That is true.
He didn't actually say who forced him, but basically he's implying that there are groups of interest which are more powerful than him, which pressured him to do this. And of course, Elon Musk, the truth of the matter is there are two people who got Donald Trump elected. One of them is Elon Musk, the other is Robert Kennedy Jr. These were the two people who got Donald Trump elected. Robert Kennedy Jr. got him elected because he captured a different section of the vote, which Donald Trump otherwise wouldn't have captured. The anti-lockdown vote, the health vote, sections of the Democrats who supported him. He pulled probably about between 5 and 10% of the votes. That's what I reckon. And the other angle was Elon Musk, because when he took over Twitter and turned it into X, the voice of the people, then he manufactured support for Donald Trump with something like $250 million. And that says it all. Now he's got this idea that he can manufacture governance in any country of the world. All he has to do, what are you doing? On behalf of the Chinese state. You've got someone spying on every word. In fact, my heartbeat.
He's from Taiwan.
He's from Beijing. He's directly sent by Xi Jinping. Rachel Reeves goes over there. They come to me. That's the difference. They come to me. They come to me. So this manipulation by a tiny cabal of crooks and gangsters at the top of capitalism is what controls democracy, so-called democracy. And it doesn't matter whether it's a proportional representation or a first past the post in the final instance. Or in America, you've got what's the electoral college, and there's all these different methodologies they use.
David or the blue star of David.
Yes.
And of course, the point I was going to make to that gentleman here was the following. The Labour Party, although ostensibly it's supposed to be a party of the working class, this man's brother was in charge of it until a couple of years ago. Yeah, so that's how mad they are. Second, when he was in charge of it, who controlled the party? It wasn't the members of the party that controlled it. It wasn't the trade unions that controlled it. It was the Israel lobby that controlled the Labour Party. And they undermined and sabotaged Jeremy Corbyn's control over the Labour Party. Or it was a very powerful factor in removing Jeremy Corbyn. And now, Donald Trump and Joe Biden. I mean, Joe Biden turned around and said, we're going to give, $3 billion, did he say last week, to Israel? $3 billion to Israel? Joe Biden said, like a week before he collapses and suffers a death, he's declared $3 billion must go to Israel. And Donald Trump is going to give more money to Israel. He's not opposed to supporting the Israelis. And Elon Musk to turn around and say, what was it? He said, Keir Starmer is a paedophile, or Jess Phillips, paedophile, rape, genocide apologist. And yet Elon Musk scampered over to Israel immediately after October the 7th, ran around with Netanyahu, shown the poor people, and at no time has Elon Musk declared his opposition to the slaughter and genocide carried out in Gaza by the Israelis. So where is the so-called objectivity and wisdom of Elon Musk? And his algorithms, the X algorithm, is just designed to promote whatever latest thing he wants to masturbate to. That's the truth of the matter. Because if you look, because there's no discussion. Any discussion that is in favour of the Palestinians is pushed to the side. And discussion in favour of Israel, or in favour of Donald Trump, or in favour of Tommy Robinson,
Or in favour of Ukraine.
who are all linked together, Yeah, Tommy Robinson, Elon Musk, and Nigel Farage, they're all linked together. They're all
Absolutely.
part of the Israel lobby.
together.
They're all part of the Israel lobby. So the idea that they're standing up for freedom and free speech is a complete and absolute lie. And even Robert Kennedy, and I was reading his book and supporting his book
courage is all
for a
right.
period of time. If you look at what he's now saying, suddenly he's like halfway in between things. Shortly he'll be subordinate to the giant. He said, "I know what to do because I've run various campaigns." He doesn't know. They'll run rings around him, left, right, and centre. The NIH, the pharma companies, and all that, and they're already lobbying Trump and lobbying Kennedy. And they've got enough on Kennedy. He's not even denied it. They've got enough filth on Kennedy to bring him down whenever they want. And they can always kick him out at any moment.
Allowed to get in there in the first
Because he would get a certain
Because he
vote for
was-
them.
yes.
Now, that doesn't mean he won't, as I said a few weeks
Because
ago,
he's comparable.
to the degree that he changes the attitude and approach towards healthcare in America or elsewhere, that will be a positive thing. But you've got to understand the balance of forces in power in America. And that's about big capital, monopoly capital, big finance, big business, and the long-standing bureaucracy associated with that acts as a go-between government and them. And the idea that you can eliminate them by one man turning up saying, "I will fight against this," or "I will fight against that," is nonsensical. As soon as you seriously threaten their power, they will mobilize their resources against you. And within the billionaires themselves, that will happen as well. And that's why for now, come here, Zuckerberg, bring him in. You're part of the game. And all the pharma companies have been running over to meet at Mar-a-Lago to meet with Donald Trump as well. And Keir Starmer's about to shoot her. If he got the chance, he'd run there and stick his face up his bum as soon as he could. Of course he would, you know. Yes, of course he will. Sorry? He does prefer to be the World Economic Forum. But unlike Piers Corbyn here, I do not think the World Economic Forum has a particularly significant influence anymore. The global division of power, the global splintering of power is the key characteristic of our era. It's a meeting place where the ruling classes and governments of the world used to get together and make a minimal agreement as to what they can do collectively. But there's very little now you can list that they can do collectively. Therefore, that's why Donald Trump is introducing, or will introduce, massive tariff controls over the world. The climate machinery is a giant global industry. I looked, for example, about China. I looked into the data on China over the last few weeks. And I asked, to what degree is China's energy policy, in other words, it's the biggest green energy policy of any country in the world, massive investments in solar panels, electric vehicles, in all these things that are called the green technologies. You're saying it's a PR op. Actually, when I looked into the data on it, about 10% of the policy is made based on climate stories. The rest of the policy in China, 90% of its policy is based on energy security.
Exactly.
And energy security is about protecting itself in the event of war between the West and China. That's what it's about. It's got nothing to do with green and climate and CO2. In fact, in order to produce this energy security based on green technology, China is producing thousands of times more CO2 than the Industrial Revolution produced. Every year it produces masses of CO2 in order to produce the steel industry, the concrete industry, and the modernization of China. All that massive rise in industrial emissions by China is all supposedly to create a green economy, according to the green theorists. But in actual fact, what's happening is China is producing its green technology in order to guarantee energy security. Now, it could be that they've been sucked in too early and that the late taker-uppers, for example, if America does grab Greenland, does get Canada to subordinate itself to America in extracting rare earth metals, to fund America's green industrialization and fund Tesla cars and so on, to try and take on Chinese cars. Chinese are making cars now, electric vehicles, that give a guarantee of 1 million miles.
A million.
1 million miles.
A million.
Yes, a million, not a million miles on a single charge, but a guaranteed car functioning and repaired for 1 million miles
Over its lifetime.
over its lifetime. So the battery power, and these cars, some of the cars in China are going for several £1,000s to buy an electric vehicle. So they're way outstripping the Americans. That's why America requires the government to act as the agent to transfer resources from the people of America towards the state in order to try and compete against the Chinese. That's what Elon Musk is after. Subsidy, subsidy, subsidy.
He always has been.
Well, that's right. In Britain, we subsidise Elon Musk through the hilt. Something like £170 million we've given to Elon Musk. That's how they make their so-called clever ideas. They base their ideas on money that comes out of our pockets. That's basically what it is. And then they make out, oh, he's so clever. Did you see that robot he made? What was it called? Optimus. He brought out these, he had a TV show, TV performance. He got these robots, and the robot looks a bit like Sam here, but without the face. And then moved around like this, like, hi, would you like a drink? And then he got a drink and all the rest of it. And then people were chatting to the robot, and then people thought, my God, even I thought when I watched it, I thought, well, they got robots that look like humans and can do things like humans. Turned out, a few days later, we discovered all the robots were actually
AI.
remote controlled by human beings. And they were not robots at all. The responses they were given controlled by human beings, the actions they did, people were behind in the background like a puppet controlling the so-called robot. Robots cannot do what they make out they can do. The dexterity and flexibility of the human hand is too unique.
Robots, what
They can do simple tasks. So for example, could you have sex with one you meet?
Like the ironing.
Probably you could. But they can do ironing.
has.
They could do ironing, or they can move a machine around. They can fix certain, like they've done in car manufacture and so on.
Change a light bulb, yeah.
To be fair, the Chinese at least recognise this. In general, they recognise it and use most of the robots in manufacturing, rather than trying to pretend that they can replace a human being. Although they have started making some robots that, for show, they look like a human being, or But otherwise, the idea that robots are about to take over, it's a lot of bullshit. It's a lot of bullshit. But it gives the impression of omnipotence and power driving the people in charge of society. Their robot army, their robot dog, the robot policeman. We probably do better than the ones we got here with the robot policeman, actually. Any case, is there a final question, or shall I close? Yes, sir.
Why is Musk getting involved in Farage?
Why is what?
Musk.
Why is he getting involved with what?
Elon Musk getting involved with Farage.
Attacking.
With what?
Attacking Farage.
Farage. Oh.
Farage.
Elon Musk, he made a special speech a couple of days ago. Take a look out for that on Israel. And he basically declared undying support for Israel. Undying support for Israel. Elon Musk. And undying declaration of love and support for Israel. Well, who are the people in Britain stirring up hatred, and in Europe, stirring up hatred between the communities in a way that directly supports Israel? Which means this: anti-Islamic, anti-Muslim attacks. Who is doing that? Who's behind it? Who's stirring it all up? It comes from the top, and it comes from layers being financed and supported by Israel. And you can name them both, or name three of them straight away. One is Tommy Robinson, finance supported by Israel.
Yep.
Two is Nigel Farage, finance supported by Israel. And Elon Musk, finance supported by Israel. And if you get onto the other ones, Keir Starmer, finance supported by Israel. What's the Tory party? Also finance supported. Finance supported by Israel. So the key factor is all the parties being supported by the establishment, and in particular those so-called far-right parties getting the backing of Elon Musk, are doing the bidding of Israel. And even Donald Trump is doing that.
Musk attacking Farage? That's the question.
Yeah, he's
Because he wants to promote Tommy Robinson. He doesn't trust Farage. Farage is too independent for him. It's one thing to be subordinate to Trump, like to be next to him, because it rubs off on him. And Elon Musk is making the news more than Donald Trump. So suddenly Elon Musk thinks, I know what, Donald Trump won't last long, and I can run for president of America once he falls. That's Elon Musk's thinking. Yeah, of course it is. And then on the other side he's thinking, and his dad said it last week as well, rather than Nigel Farage, who you won't be able to control, he's got his own independent, he can talk, he can speak on his own, he's not a geek like that, and he's not ramming ketamine up his nose every couple of hours, unlike Elon Musk. And therefore he thought, his father Trevor said, well, we must support Tommy Robinson, because when he comes out of prison he'll be a hero, and if he's in charge of reform, then he can take over, become the Prime Minister of England with a bit of force. That's the plan of Elon Musk. That's what it is. It's not complicated. And in Germany he wants Weidel in charge, you know. And he doesn't know, I mean, he may know a few geeky things about some computers and stuff, but in terms of politics, Elon Musk is an ignoramus. He's an ignoramus. He's a thicko, a dimwit. And yet, he's got enough money to make his snippets of so-called wisdom appear to be somehow clever. You know, why? Because 500 million people see the nonsense he puts out. He liked Tommy Robinson's ridiculous video about this Syrian kid. Ridiculous video. Where he just lies through and through. And yet he put it out. Elon Musk supported it. It jumped from 17 million views to 92 million views. It's a bigger blockbuster than the Titanic. And it's the shittiest film in the world. So there you go. That's how our world is heading, with these morons in charge. I've been speaking for a while. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next week.
Yeah, quick round of applause.